All right, I think we are live. What's going on, everybody? Oh, you can see my microphone here. That's not that's not too big of a deal. Happy Sunday, everyone. Hope you guys are having a good time. I'm about to have a great time. I usually line up in front of me all of the whiskeys I'm going to drink during these live streams, but tonight I decided to put them behind me. Why? Because I typically have my Booker's bottles up here anyway. So I figured why not put them all on display with the glassware. Um, I am super excited to try all these Bookers back to back. The last several times that I've bought specific bottles of Bookers, um, when I bought the Teresa's batch, I compared it next to my first batch, which was Backyard Barbecue. Then when I bought Shiny Barrel, I did the three. I bought Country Ham, I lined them all up, the four. I bought Beaten Biscuits, I did the five. Now tonight, I'm going to be doing 11 of them. A lot of samples, but also a couple of new bottles that I purchased. Older bottles. I've got Noah's Secret over here, and I've got the Blue Knights batch right there. Those are two older bottles that a friend of mine put up for sale. I usually call people out and share what I've received in terms of samples, but because those were purchases and there's some uncertainty and discomfort for a lot of people with purchasing whiskey, I'm not going to name anybody that I buy from. I will just say I was a generous person and I appreciate doing business with them. So let me know what you're drinking. I think that's a great question from Trevor. I hope to hear you guys respond. You know what I'm going to be drinking. And for those of you who tuned in last time I did one of these, which would have been last Sunday, you know that I had 12 different Knob Creek pours. I think 10 of them were actually picks. I thought all 12 were, but they weren't. Those were pretty high proof. It was kind of a shit show, but it was kind of fun. So, I knew tonight would be a shit show, though, because these are all higher proof than those Knob Creek picks. The Knob Creek picks typically are 60%, although there is a little bit of variance. Every one up there is higher than 60% alcohol. I believe the lowest proof one up there is 62.0% alcohol. And I'll run through the percentages, when they're from, and what their names are on all these whiskeys here in a second. But just so you know, I'm prepared. I've got another handy dandy gallon of water. I don't think there's any way I could have done this last time without a gallon. So I'm going to use the gallon again. Oh, I'm making such a mess. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. It was an interesting one for me for a couple reasons. First off, I met Yolanda's dad for the first time, which was kind of cool. Getting to know some people that are important to my girlfriend. Working on an entirely too generous pour of Hamilton's Isla Scotch. Well, thanks, Trevor. I appreciate your faith in tonight. Zach, that sounds pretty tasty. I may have to give that a taste at some point in the near future. So yeah, it was cool to meet my girlfriend's dad. It was cool to spend some time with their family. It's interesting to learn about that dynamic. Sadly, I couldn't launch off any big up in the air explosive fireworks. And the fireworks show that was local got canceled. But I did buy some fountains that were fun, and I bought some firecrackers that we had fun with. The finale that I put together was 2 different fountains next to each other, which ended up falling over and blowing up. That was really cool, albeit a little dangerous. But, I did the best I could to make it as safe as possible. So what are you going to do? Nobody got hurt, and that's the most important part. So if you had any interesting experiences, I'd love to hear about them in the chat. If you have any questions, for those of you who haven't been here before, I think most of you probably have, but if you haven't been here before, if you have any questions for me, throw them up in the chat. If you can't hear me, we can't see me, put it in the chat. I have had a lot of technical difficulties with these streams for a variety of different reasons. I'm kind of running on hodgepodge thrown together technology. So these pieces aren't really designed to work together. I've made them work together. And because of that, there can be some problems. There can be some glitches and mishaps. So I need to know about them. And I can't live monitor this. I mean, I guess I could, but at this point, I choose not to because the headphones can be cumbersome and clunky, and I'm very animated with my hands. So let me know if anything goes wrong, and then we can have other people confirm if it's just you or if it's everybody, and then I'll know if it's your problem or my problem or both of our problems. So I want to go ahead at the beginning of this and bring up something that I recently changed. This was changed for July 1st. Matter of fact, I believe this has been changed since the last live stream. Those are Patreon levels and general chicken scratches because my handwriting is atrocious sometimes, especially when I'm running together at the last minute scribbling down benefits. If you aren't already a member of the Patreon, I strongly recommend you join. There's never been a better time to join than now, which I know is kind of a cheesy line, but it's never, but I swear it's true this time because I've updated the benefits and made it a lot better for the people that join. I'm going to be sending out holiday cards to celebrate Prohibition December 5th. That's for every level. If you pay $3 a month, you're going to get those cards. You're going to get access to the behind the scenes. You're going to get access to the early, or to the Patreon only live streams, which will happen once a month. A lot of good reasons to join the Patreon. Higher levels are going to get higher benefits. I've added a new level, $25 and $50 is now between $25 and $1,000, and the $1,000 level has been dropped down to $500. If anybody really wants to pay me to fly out wherever they want me to be with a bottle, their choice within a certain price range, we'll make it happen. I'm also going to be doing there's a lot of cool things going on there. I won't talk about them all in this public live stream, but I highly recommend you check it out. A lot of cool things happening. So, I don't want to dilly-dally too long, but I also don't want to jump into this too fast. So I think first thing I'm going to do is give you a little bit of a sense of the Booker's line if you aren't familiar with them already. And then I'll start going down the line and doing tasting notes and nosing notes. Now, something I've done in the past is just smell something, one of each pour, and then do a general note and then go back and give specifics on each one. Because of the plethora of glasses and tastings, and because I put them behind me instead of in front of me, because I didn't want to squat, that's going to be more tricky. So I'll probably be more one-on-one with the notes, just because the nature of the beast. I might actually also have my notepad here. I might start scribbling some notes. That'll be helpful to make sure I can give you that comparison information that I like to provide, and that's a little bit easier to provide, frankly, when I do them all back to back to back to back on the nosing and the tasting. I might play around with that. We'll see what makes the most sense, but my plan right now is to go kind of one at a time, a little bit more methodically. And don't forget the handy dandy water. If you're drinking along with me, definitely remember the handy dandy water. Okay. I don't want to front load all the pitch, so let's talk about Booker's a little bit. So Booker's has been around for quite some time. I think it actually was a lineup started in the 80s. It's named after Booker No, who was one of the master distillers. These are the Beam family products. And Booker No, see, I don't want to give you bad information. He was either the 5th or the 6th generation master distiller with the Jim Beam company. What I do know is that Fred No, who is Booker's son, took over making the master distiller decisions, and he is the 7th generation master distiller. I know that because they put it on these cards. And Fred has been doing this lineup in honor of Booker. So it's Booker's bourbon. It's in honor of his father. You get the gist. Now, each batch in modern times has some sort of cute name. I've talked about, backyard barbecue and beaten biscuits and country ham. And a lot of them are named after individuals. Teresa's batch, Granny's batch, Tommy's batch, Blue Night batch for organization. Some of these have stories. Some of them are more just like in honor of people. But that's a relatively new development. The Bookers have been around for a long, long time. And only until, I think it was only in 2014 or 2015, that they actually started naming those batches with that convention. Something else that's also important to remember is there's been variation in how often these are released. They have always been, I think, limited releases. But sometimes they were 6 times a year, and sometimes they were 4 times a year. I think sometimes they were also once or twice a year. I can't recall on that. I'm a little fuzzy on those details, but it's a limited release product intentionally, and they give you this fancy fun box. Now I will say again, the boxes used to look different. This color is not the color the boxes always were. If you see a box with a much lighter wood that doesn't have any kind of finish on it at all, that's probably an older batch, probably worth picking up. But it's kind of gimmicky. I won't lie, it's kind of gimmicky, but it's also fun. They're good boxes, so if you want to use it for something besides holding your whiskey bottle, you probably can. I've seen people put corks in them. I think that's a fun use for them. I've seen people put store tools in them, so that's a fun use for them. You can do whatever you want to do. But inside the box, you get just a regular bottle of whiskey, wax seal. Sometimes with a story on the newer ones. On the older ones, it's just as normal looking. It has that kind of information, that label that was in the thumbnail for this video. But yeah, so that's where that is. It's been a long week, guys. Very busy days at work. There's always this added stress of dealing with family that isn't your own and learning about new people and spending a lot of time with new people. It's a good experience. I'm glad I did it, but it is tiring. It's important to do, though. Sometimes you got to do things that aren't as fun and easy as you wish they were, but it's worth doing in the end. You got to keep reminding yourself of that. That's not what's going to happen tonight, though. This is worth doing, and it's not going to be tiring. It may be taxing, but it will not be tiring. Where should I start? Tell me where to start. Tell me in the chat what I should do. Where should I start? Where should I go from here? I'm lost, out to sea, confused and dazed on this Sunday evening, July 5th. Happy 4th of July late to everybody. Oldest batch, Trevor says. That's fun. That's fun. John, let me give a couple shout outs and then I will dig into the oldest batch. Nate Cooper. Big shout out to Nate. You'll hear his name a lot if you watch this channel regularly, but he's been very generous with his pours, sends me a lot of stuff. He sent me 3 of these samples for this Booker's lineup. He sent me Tommy's batch, kitchen table, and a sample of the brand new Granny's batch. I expect a second run from 2020 to be released soon, but it has not been released yet. So in the meantime, I believe Granny's batch is still the newest, batch of Booker's available. So if you see Granny's batch, that's the most recent one. Let me grab this pen here. The oldest batch, though. All right. Hey, Uncle Dave. How's it going, my man? Yeah, I think oldest first makes the most sense. I'll tell you why I'm hesitant to do it. It's because I haven't had anything to drink yet. And, I can go back to it again. But there's something about that first taste that always colors your opinion of a whiskey. And I've never had... Boston batch is out now. I purchased it Friday night. Hey, glad to know that, Turner. Thanks for telling me, brother. I have not seen that yet, and I didn't see that on their website 2 days ago. So it's they're falling behind on their web presence. Okay, but yeah, the oldest batch I've got here, the 2013-6. That's kind of a special pour for me. I don't get a chance to taste a lot of the pre-naming convention Booker's batches because I just they're very hard to find. I don't have those kinds of connections in terms of buying those bottles on a regular basis. But they're really interesting. The ones I've had, I've really enjoyed. So I'm going to be really starting from the top. It's a high bar where we're going to start here. But I think you guys are right. I think I'm going to do it. Turner says he got it in Lexington. That's good to know. I might have to make a trip down to Kentucky here pretty soon. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on that. Ooh, smells so good. Now, I think I'm going to start with this one and be pretty thorough just with this specific pour. But what I might do after that is smell a couple of them and just see some comparisons just to get some notes from it. But let's at least dig in first and foremost to 2013-6. Now, this batch doesn't have a name, like I said before. And shout out John Warner for providing the sample. Very generous of him. 62.95% is the percentage on this. But you know, that high of a percentage you'd never guess if you just took a whiff of this. I mean, you can tell there's ethanol in there, but there's so much sweetness, there's so much citrus, there's so much baking spice. I get a lot of vanilla right off the bat. That's maybe the first and most prominent note on this particular pour. Vanilla and caramel. I get a bit of a cereal quality. There's some sort of sweet grain note, but it's very it's much more refined. A lot of times when you get those sweet cereal distillate or like a raw grain, but this is a rounded, sweeted maltiness. A really great malt, kind of reminiscent of the sweetness of a single malt whiskey in terms of the nose. As I keep smelling, I get into these baking spices. The brown sugar shows up. A lot of cinnamon on the nose in this. What's up, Matt? How you doing, brother? You know I'm having a good night because I got a bunch of whiskey poured behind me. There's a very, very subtle, like sweet minty note. I don't know if I would call it mint, like spearmint or peppermint, because those usually are more herbal for me on the nose, but maybe like a mint gum, like a sweet mint gum, because you get a lot of that saccharine sweetness, but it's accompanying that herbal minty freshness. And I don't get hardly any nuttiness on the nose in this. Now, I know there's a lot of nuttiness in a lot of Booker's pours, so I expect nuts to be a recurring theme. uh, but in this particular pour, I'm not getting very much on the nose, at least. And sometimes that can happen after you come back to it. Those notes will really show up again once you've tasted it. And see, as soon as I said that, now I'm starting to get some peanutty qualities out of this. Peanutty notes are very common out of the Jim Beam lineup. Things from the Beam family distillery often have peanutty notes, in my experience. Not everybody agrees. Hola, what's going on, Nate? I was just thanking you for all the samples that we're doing in this lineup, so cheers, brother. Not all the samples. Shout out John Warner. You're at the first one, man. I've been blabbering on for way too freaking long. Yeah, I get a subtle peanutty note. Definitely get some of that oakiness. You can tell us to spend a lot of time in wood. Oh no, we're starting that early. I don't know when that has started happening, guys. I never used to actually like smell and sneeze and be that. It's not allergic. I think I just shoved my nose in deeper and really dig into the whiskey until I just can't breathe anymore. That did really open up the peanutty woody notes, though. There's definitely some fruit characteristics, but it's subtle and it's hard for me to pick up. It's some kind of stone fruit, I think, which I've been using stone fruit wrong in the past. Stone fruit is basically fruit with a big stone in it. It seems freaking simple when you say it, but I always was thinking about something different. But peaches, apricots, things like that, stone fruit. What's up, man? Is that Steven? Looks like it. Looks like Steven's here. What's up, bud? I'm doing well as I can be right now. We're trying. We're trying. All right, let's give this a taste. I've given you some nosy notes. Let's get into the tasting on this. What's up, Joe? I'm crazy doing 11 that time. Yeah. Well, woo, woo. That is spicy. I was telling some of you recently joined, saying before I haven't had any other whiskey yet tonight, obviously, because it would be stupid before I do 11 of these bad boys. But going from 0 to 62.95%, serious business. I really didn't even get any flavor notes because I wasn't able to tune in enough. That's really common. some of the biggest names in whiskey recommend the 3 sip tasting method. I believe them. I stand by that too. Give you 3 good sips. That third sip, almost give you all the finger. That third sip will really tell you what's going on. Cheers, Stephen. We'll drink some for you, my man. Okay. First thing you get this really interesting, sharp, woody note. It's that dry, tannic wood. But then in the mid palate, you start to get this nuttiness. The wood comes first. You get honey and wood, sweetened wood, and then it moves into this pecan nutty mid palate. A little bit of like raw cinnamon, that herbal. It's not gritty. It's not textured gritty. But when I think about cinnamon in my mouth, I think about that grittiness. And it, for some reason that comes to mind every time. Nate's having that Bell Meat XO cast strength. I need to get some of that. Trevor, reach out to me. We got to organize something so we can get that bottle sent my way, my man. Going back to the nose. Going back to the nose and getting a little bit of a green apple note. Some berries are starting to show up a little bit. All right, let's take that third sip. Warm, honey, sweetness, woodiness, converts into the nuttiness mid palate. Little pepper tingle on the tongue. And Trevor, I probably won't respond tonight. I don't think this is the right time. I'll respond first thing in the morning, my man. I promise. But I need that reminder. If I don't see that reminder, I'm not good at keeping track of shit. I got all kinds of reminders set up. Every software I use, every project I got to get done, I got reminders. Appreciate it, my man. All right. That's just too easy to drink. It's very good. I think I've given you all the notes. I'm going to start moving down the line a little bit. We'll see what's going on. I think I'm going to go ahead. I've been playing with this idea. I'm going to go ahead and nose them all real quick. I'm going to try to do it without my back turned to the camera. We'll see how that goes. And see if anything really catches my eye. So this is the nose on No Secret. All right. That's a little bit more floral. A little bit more sweet floral. Maybe a hint of fruit that's more prominent on the nose. This one is the 2017-1. This is Tommy's batch. It's not as sharp as the 2013-6, but it doesn't have that clear, sweet, floral, fruity note of No Secret. It's a little bit more, a little bit sharper, a little bit more herbal. All right, Blue Knight's batch. This one I get way more butterscotch. This is more reminiscent of the 2016, the 2013-6. Nate says Tommy's batch with a tad bit of water opens up really nice, in my opinion. We'll definitely have to try that. Remind me again when we get to it, because it's not that far off. Yeah, Blue Knights reminds me a lot of the 2013. Very similar profile. And I want to keep track of this. The 2013 was -6. The Blue Knights is -2. 2017-2. One of the things I started to notice with the Elijah Craig barrel proof pours was the ECBP really has, it seems, consistent palates at each letter. So while the A's are more similar to me than the B's and C's, and those are all similar with their own letters. And so I'm a little curious if we see any kind of similarities in the same way in the Booker's lineup. So far, I don't think so. But we're early in the line. Backyard Barbecue. Now, we'll note here, Backyard Barbecue is the one I've had open the longest. That one. I tried to not open it a whole bunch. I tried to not leave it open for long periods of time, but it will probably mute some of the flavors. Oh, wow. Very, very vanilla. Vanilla caramel sweet corn. Butterscotch honey. This is super duper sweet. That's almost sickly sweet in comparison. Kitchen table. Now, kitchen table is 64%. This is a sample from Nate, 2018-4. I don't know how long this one has been open. Nate can tell you in the chat, I'm sure. That can have a severe is maybe the wrong word. It can have a great or terrible impact on a whiskey. Depends how much it opens up. Definitely still getting the sweet honey on this. I'm getting a little bit of clove, cinnamon and clove on this. That's first time I've called out clove as a note. But sweet cinnamon, God, it's like red hot on the nose. Not very long, April 25th, 2020. This has been a very recently open. That's good because a lot of these are relatively recent opens as well. Blue Knight's batch was only open a few days ago, and I took a couple drinks out and tried to give it some time to air out. No Secret's only been open probably a week. Oh man, okay. The nose on kitchen table is really doing it for me right now. It's got this wonderful sweet candy. It's that saccharine, corn syrup sugariness, but then it's got a beautiful dark undertone like brown sugar molasses. It doesn't have the bitterness of like a blackstrap molasses, but it's got that rich undertone, like a dark brown sugar. Your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. I'll wait. That's fine. Are we still connected? I sure hope so. YouTube does not really want me to live stream. That's what I figured out. I wish I knew why. But they keep it a secret. Sorry if I blew your hearing aids out. Okay. ASMR. I'm actually going to do that at some point. I'm going to make an ASMR whiskey video. For those of you who don't know what ASMR is, I recommend you Google it. I recommend you check out a YouTube video of it. It's super weird if you aren't used to it, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of neat. It's a fun way to play around with the human body. That sounded... we'll just walk right past that. I'll let you make your own conclusions. I can't stop smelling this. Okay, I'm putting that away. That one smells so good in a way I can't really describe. It's just, hitting all the right notes for me. You know, Nate, a lot of people think ASMR is not family friendly, and they're wrong. Sure, you can do anything sexually if you wanted to. Like, anything can become that, but ASMR really isn't designed to be that. There's a lot of, they call themselves ASM artists, who are some are very sexualized, but some are very desexualized. So there's a way to enjoy that in all kinds of contexts. But let's get back to whiskey, shall we? This is Teresa's batch. Now, this is often a maligned batch in the Booker's lineup. A lot of shit was given to people that at Jim Beam when they released Teresa's batch because it is very off profile if memory serves. Now, the nose isn't. The nose is that really big, sweet honey caramel. This is not now I'm having trouble keeping track of all these. The kitchen table. It's not the table of the kitchen. Uncle Dave, that's right. The paper crumbles. I can do a little bit of that. Anyway, the kitchen table, it was really soft and sweet and had these wonderful candied notes. I get a lot more of like a natural sweetness out of as Teresa's batch. It's woody, it's sweet, lot of honey, lot of honey. Whereas the other ones, I've talked about a couple with some saccharine sugar sweetness. This is honey sweet. Shiny Barrel batch. Let's give it a nosing here. Oh. Ooh, okay. Of all the ones I've smelled so far, this is the most like honey roasted peanuts. I get honey and peanuts, honey and peanuts. Now, one of the cool things about Booker's, especially the modern versions, are these cards that they give you. I've got a card for Shiny Barrel Batch, and it shows you the age statement on the whiskey and the proof and all that, but then it has a little batch story on the front that tells you the story of the name. Now, I already know the story of the name for Shiny Barrel Batch. It's kind of fun. The batch, people that work in the distilleries have what they call thieves usually on their sides, and that lets you reach into a barrel and thieve some of the whiskey, and then you can taste it and see if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Well, part of that process inevitably ends up with people working at the distillery going over to barrels and be like, oh, that's when they like, and when they're done for the day, or if they want to grab a quick drink, they'll thieve from that same barrel and maybe even lean up against that barrel and kind of shoot the shit while they're on their break. And the story is those barrels could really be pointed out in the warehouse because in these big rick houses, sometimes dust will accrue, sometimes grime will accrue, different things will get on these barrels. But the ones that were shiny meant somebody had been rubbing up against it a lot, thieving out whiskey, getting whiskey, shooting the shit. So those were the good ones. Those are the ones that had been tested again and again because people kept coming back and they liked them. So a shiny barrel was a good sign that it was a honey barrel, which is just whiskey speak for a good freaking barrel. Oh, I almost forgot the most important part. Not most important. One of my favorite parts is on the backs, they give you tasting notes and they give you information about which warehouses and which floors the different percentages of these whiskeys came from. So with Shiny Barrel Batch, the whiskey was 18% from the 6th floor of a 9-story warehouse D, 39% from the 4th floor of a 9-story warehouse E, and 43% from the 4th floor of a 9-story warehouse J. Good information. In the tasting notes, I'm not going to read those right now. I'll read those later. Assuming I taste this in the same order that I smelled this, I might need those tasting notes to help limp over the finish line. Honey roasted peanuts. That's great. Now, Country Ham. This is probably the most popular pour in recent history. But I don't care for the nose as much. I get like a narrow, sharp sweetness and then a citrus fruit. And then I get like a cherry and like a sour apple, a hint of peach. So usually I like the fruitiness on the nose, but there's something about like your expectations going into a pour. When I was smelling those other Bookers that are big, round, woody, sweet, brown sugar, cinnamon spice flavors, that feels right. That feels like what Booker's is supposed to do. And this is narrower and sharper and more astringent almost in the nose. And I usually love the fruity flavors on the palate, but like that sweet sugar, cherry, honey, berry note, that intersection of flavors is not what I expected after this line up to this point. I definitely get the vanilla as well. Not much wood on that one on the nose, for me at least. Beaten biscuits. Ooh, okay. Of all the named ones so far, this is the most apt. I get some breadiness. I get some honey. Nate says Country Ham was to me the most balanced with all the other profiles. This isn't what I want from Booker's. Yeah, I totally get that. That's kind of, we'll see how I feel in the tasting, but from the nose, it was off profile, and so I was kind of thrown back. But I will say, when I come into um, the country ham is one I've come to again and again. Matter of fact, this is my second bottle of country ham, which is the only Booker's version I've bought 2 bottles of. And it's because if I go to it without that picture in my mind of what a Booker's batch is supposed to taste like, it's always a strong preference for me to go to that Booker's. A lot of honey. Honey's a really consistent note in all of these. That's a very, very classic honey sweetness. But yeah, there's a breadiness to this. It's honey and grain. And that's why I feel like beaten biscuits is an apt note for this. An apt name. You get a little bit of cedar, a little bit of cedar, a little bit of burn, a little pepper, and a hint of spearmint. That's a good one. I like that nose. Last but not least, let's go into Granny's batch. Whoa. 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 That is straight up peanuts. Like peanut butter. Like this, like I could go grab a jar of Jif and it smells fucking like this. That's insane. What is happening right now? Yeah, Nate, I see why you could say peanut brittle, but the thing is, like, so many of these have been like sweet peanut notes that when you get those notes compared to this Granny's batch, the Granny's batch is so much more peanutty that it's hard to even catch that caramel, caramel butterscotch sweetness. It's just like straight peanuts. Whoa. Okay, that's insane. Okay. Wow. A lot of cool stuff up there. I'm surprised how much variance I found. I know I'm looking for variance, so that's kind of not fair, but there do seem to be separate kind of profile categories happening here. I've seen several that are like sweet peanut. I've seen several that are like um, sort of astringent, sweet, a hint of fruit. That's a very common note. And then I've seen a lot. Maybe the most common is like this um, baking spice, sweet honey brown sugar woodiness. Those 3 categories seem to make up different types of Bookers. So I might consider blending some of these together. Um, the last live stream I did, I tasted this, and I've talked a little bit about the fact that the Patreon, I think that was a Patreon only live stream, but the Patreon members will be receiving a sample from this right here. This is my special Drink Pro blended whiskey, sitting at about 120 something proof. I don't remember, but it's a blend of a variety of different whiskeys. I'll be able to send you the list, all the blending notes, everything that is in it. Should be interesting. But what did Trevor just say? Trevor said, I want to get 2020-2. They said it's the first batch Freddie helped pick barrels. Interesting. That's really cool. Well, yeah, Booker's Little Book 3, which is, what Freddie has been picking barrels for. It's freaking amazing. I did a review of that. You can check it out on my page right before this live stream. This is the last video, I believe. Boy, it was freaking good. It really was. So that is an exciting note. I saw somebody in the chat before. I think it was Turner. Yeah, Turner said Boston Batch is out right now, and he picked it up on Friday night in Lexington. So it might be out, available. I wish I had picked it up for this live stream, but I didn't even know it was out there yet. So what are you going to do? I can't always make a trip to Kentucky when I would like to, which is all the time. Let's dig into some of these tastings. I think I'm going to go ahead and do what I just did and do rapid fire tasting. So things are about to get off the rails even more than they already are always off the rails. So let's go for it. Rapid fire tasting. Okay. No secret. Ooh, that's really sharp, really hot. There's a lot of bitterness on that one, even more so than that first one. Okay. Mmm. Tommy's batch has this wonderful, soft, citrusy honey sweetness, black pepper, pancakes and syrup for Little Buck Chapter 3. I could totally see that. Yeah. Oh, man. That's really good. Tommy's batch is really good. Blue Knight's batch. Whoa. Oh, I don't care for that. It's got real astringent sourness. Um, hmm. Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to Blue Knights. My first impression of Blue Knights is not good, which is sad because I just bought that. Backyard barbecue. That's oh god, that's all sugar and baking spice. Nuttiness. I get almonds. I get honey. I get brown sugar. Like a peach sweetness maybe. Boom, coming in with the kitchen table. Here we go. I get almost a slight lemon citrus note, but it's very neutral. This is the easiest drinker so far. It's got classic sweetness, classic very subtle pepper notes. It's got a little bit of that citrus quality, a little bit of herbalness. It's pretty quiet. That's the let's see. This is kitchen table. Yeah, that's at 64% alcohol. That's not as strong as I would have expected. What are you gonna do? This is not the best way to do this. I'm realizing how much I'm having to turn around. It's probably not great for the audio or your head because you're getting dizzy like me. In the future, I'll come up with a better system, but just work with me in the meantime. Teresa's batch, the much maligned. Whew, I'm dizzy after doing that. I shouldn't have done that shit. Oh, it's like chocolate. That is like woody chocolate. Chocolate wood. Make your own jokes about chocolate wood. Chocolate wood with honey? Yeah. See, I understand why that's maligned, though, because people have certain expectations. And that right there did not meet any of the expectations of a classic Booker's. I've had 3 or 4 different profiles on Booker's that were kind of repetitive, and that went totally off kilter. That went totally by the wayside, doing a different thing. It was herbal, it was chocolate, it was sweet honey. People will be afraid of change. They will, hate on things that are different. Sometimes they're wrong, man. Sometimes change is good. Shiny Barrel batch. Now this one I get that honey and the classic sweet nuttiness. Joe, you need to get some of that Theresa's batch and just write a little H on the bottle. This is yours, honey. Yeah, I think I like Teresa's Northern Kitchen Table too, Nate. What the hell am I sniffing? Shiny Barrel. Okay. Oh man, we're way too early in this live stream for this to fall apart. Okay. Oh, that's good though. Oh, that's good. Honey, sweet, great mid palate nuttiness. That's peanutty. Um, oh, and the peanuttiness lingers. You get this peanutty note that lingers along with this woodiness, into this woodiness. The woodiness is not sharp and astringent. Um, this 2013-6, I'm going to go back again. Yeah, much sharper, more astringent wood. Matter of fact, if you've seen it before, it reminds me. not break any glasses tonight. It reminds me of the sharp, astringent, woody flavors that I was getting out of the George T. Stagg 2014. I think I had the early George T. Stagg. Um, that kind of speaks to the evolution of the flavor trends in bourbon. Hmm. That's a smooth sipper. All right. This was a bad idea to go this fast. Country ham. Oh, berries, super syrupy sweet. It's like a it's like a blueberry raspberry compote. It's all berries and sweetness. Oh, mid palate then kind of converts over into the straight up honey and caramel. Um, a lot of pepper on the finish, not a lot of wood on the finish, mostly pepper. Beaten biscuits. Biscuits. Interesting. So, see, the beaten biscuits is not particularly complex, but you get what it says. It is sweet, it is bready. I'll get to it, Joe. I'm trying to get through all these and I'm going to hit a chug hard. Um, Sweet and bready biscuits. A lot of burn on that. A lot of burn. Um, Beaten biscuits is 63.05% alcohol. Relatively middle of the road for these batches. But has a lot of mouth burn. I should get an IV set up, Nate. That's probably the better plan. Having a little chest pain. If I have a heart attack live in the air, somebody call an ambulance. But you'll know because I'll fall over. I shouldn't joke about that, but I get all these chest pains all the time, and I don't know how else to deal with them. I've had cardiologists look at me. They say my heart is fine, no blockages, no nothing. So I think it's just gas pains. I got weird stomach issues and acid issues. I'm sure this liquor isn't helping, but do it for the people. Do it for you. So cheers. No, but honestly, I have way more trouble if I drink beer. Uh, Nate is totally right. Yeah, a heart attack live would be hilarious. It's funny in a horrible way. Only the really terrible people laugh at that, which is I'm laughing. So, but yeah, the what were they talking about? I don't even remember. What am I drinking? Beaten biscuits, very tasty. But yeah, I have a lot more trouble with my internal organs with like Italian food. If I have spaghetti and meat sauce, oh, the acid from that tomato just ruins me. But I don't usually have much stomach problem with whiskey. I have more with pizza than I do with the liquor. Just different kinds of acid, different kinds of burns. So anyway, beaten biscuits taste like beaten biscuits. Granny's batch. Here we go. That would drive subs. I bet. I bet you're right, Uncle Dan. Uncle Dave. I almost said Uncle Dan. Yeah, Joe, you're right. I have to cut back on eating a lot of things I really like. But it's okay because I really like whiskey. I can still drink that at least right now. Yeah, there's a weird subset of people that would really get off on watching me have a heart attack live in the air. So if that's what I have to do for fans, I'm not willing to do it. But I appreciate every one of you for being here in the chat, sticking around, having a good time with me. But I'm not going to have a heart attack on your behalf. I'll drink whiskey, but I'm not going to have a heart attack for you. God, that nose was crazy. It's so meaningfully distinct from anything else I've smelled. Like, so some of you have watched the Whiskey Vault, the Whiskey Tribe, Daniel and Rex. They were part of the reason I got into this because I saw them doing this and thought I could do that in a different way that would be engaging and fun, but meaningfully different. But I still respect those guys for the amount of work and effort they put into not just the process of tasting whiskey and how much they enjoy it, but also they really understand the product of this kind of thing. Live stream as a product, internet marketing. Um, it's something I'm learning a lot about. It's really fun to learn about because engagement is so important. You can't do this just because you like the whiskey. You got to do it because you like the people and you want to talk to people. And I want to read what you guys are talking about in the chat and respond to it and engage with it. So it's a very brave new world, but it's a really cool one. Anyway, they often talk about on those channels the percentage different. How different is this as a percentage figure from other whiskeys? And most of these are probably between 5 and 10% different. This one, probably 20 to 25% different. It's huge. It's a huge jump. It's twice as different, which is a weird way to think about it, but the meaningfully distinct qualities in this really stand out. So let's taste it. Super nutty, super woody. That honey doesn't stick around though. Neither does the caramel for me. I get wood, I get nuts, maybe just a hint of sweetness. Nate's trying to convince me this is my favorite. Oh. Well, that was kind of rough. That was quite a run, guys. Yeah. Oh. Whoa. That was quite a run. I'm going to go through each one of those again and taste them again and give specific notes again. I wanted to go through on a quick and dirty style, hit them all real quick and give you notes specifically, but I can't taste that many whiskeys that quickly. That was really dumb. That was really dumb. I know you like watching me chug water, Nate. Yeah, time for a shot of the Hazmat Barrel Rye. Yeah, Country Ham for $90. Should I get it? That's a great question, Joe. So I'll pull off the Country Ham since we're talking about it. It kind of depends on what you like, Joe. Trevor, as he just mentioned, he liked Granny's Batch better than Country Ham. I can understand that. If you like that nutty and woody quality in a whiskey, 100%. 100% go Granny's Batch over Country Ham. Now, Country Ham is one of my favorites, I believe. But it's the exact opposite of that. You're not going to get nuttiness. You're not going to get woodiness. You're going to get sweet honey. You're going to get citrus. You're going to get some berries. Maybe just the slightest hint of a woodiness, but it's subtle. So, Joe, would I pay $90 for another bottle of Country Ham? Yes. Yes, I would, because that is something I really seek out, that flavor profile. I think it's worth it. There was a big uproar not too long ago because Booker's changed its pricing drastically. Historically, Booker's had been about $50. And then for a while, it kind of creeped up to between $60 and $70. And then the brilliant marketing minds over at Jim Beam decided they were going to jack the price up to $100 MSRP, and people lost their shit. And what was the response? Well, they smartly dropped the MSRP down. And so most of the time, right now, you'll see Booker's on the shelf for between $80 and $100. And I would say $80 is MSRP. So depending on what you get in your area compared to the MSRP pricing, to me, $90 is not that far off of what it should be. And particularly with the Country Ham, to me, it's worth $90. Not every batch up there that I've tasted tonight was worth $90, but Country Ham is. I totally agree with Nate. If you leave the name Booker's off of it, Country Ham is a really well done, enjoyable bourbon. I could not agree more. But I could go through these in order and give you some more notes, but I just went through all of them in order. I want to go back. I want to go back to this Blue Knights batch because on first taste, I did not like it, and that's unfortunate because I just bought it and just opened it. But it also really throws me off because it did not stay on profile at all of any of the things I've tried, and not in the same way that the right there Granny's badge was off profile, but more like there was a mistake made. So let me dig into this a little bit here. There's a really interesting woody. So one of the notes you get from scotches. Hey, look at that. Nate is trying to organize a tasting of the Granny's batch. Well, once that gets going, I'll join you guys in and we'll all taste Granny's batch together. If you've got Booker's Granny's batch, you can join in the fun here in a bit. But I'm going to wait for everybody to give me the green thumb. That's not a saying. The green light. Oh God, we're only an hour into this, and I'm just creating terror over here. Okay, so a lot of times I get this peculiar sour note in Scotch. It's not peat. It's not the brine or the iodine or any of those very typical Scotch notes. It's a sourness. It's kind of medicinal. It's kind of spoiled. Dave said the rubber note. Definitely, I could see it being called rubber, but for me, it's not usually as chemically as I would think of rubber being. But yeah, but I know exactly what you're talking about. But that kind of interesting. It's an interesting note, and it's a worthwhile note to examine and explore and get used to because some people really like it. But it's divisive. It's a divisive note. And I get that in this palate. I get sweet honey, but then I get this sour. Yeah, I guess it could be called rubber. I don't think I'm very hesitant to call it a rubber flavor on this particular one. Sweet vanilla, caramel, green oak. It's like a cherry cough syrup. Like that chemical flavor in cough syrup, that like weird sour bitterness that you put with the cherry. Um, no, not sour like green apple. It's more medicinal than that. God, it's really hard to put my finger on. I'm just picking this up for a back to back with Blue Knights. Yeah, there's some green oak in it. There's a hint of that rubbery chemicalness in it, and it does. It tastes like cherry cough syrup. Robitussin. Now, if you saw my last live stream on Patreon, you'll know. No, this was not a Patreon exclusive. If you saw words are hard. This wasn't the Patreon exclusive. If you saw my last live stream, you saw me drink the Knob Creek, and you saw me really shit on Mike's. After trying that, nope, still not it. What is wrong with that? I'm gonna figure out what that is, and somebody else needs to try that. Oh God. I really want Ryan to explain himself. I want to know what Ryan was thinking when he sent me that. Because I can only assume he believes it was good. He reached out to me. He said, "Hey, if you send me some samples, I'll send you some too." I sent him some good stuff, He sent me some cool stuff. Um, that's not good. The other ones he sent me were pretty good, but something's going on there. Maybe he thinks it's good. Maybe we just have very different palates. I don't know. Now I'll have to go back and try some OGD 114, Nate. I don't know that I've ever really dug into that very far, and so if the cherry cough syrup note is something in Old Granddad 114, then it's probably a comparable note. Um, I need to do some more OGD stuff, especially the older stuff, because Old Granddad has been around a long time, and some of their older stuff is really sought after um, on secondary markets. Those 60s and 70s bottles, people love that shit. So, Nate, we gotta get you over here, man. You come here and try it. You were generous enough at your place, so it's time you come visit my place. That's the rule, by the way. I have to come invade your space before you can come invade mine. Okay. So, what do I want to do? I guess I'll go through them with a little bit more detail. People are dropping like flies. Where'd all the people go? Down to 5 motherfuckers watching this. That's sad. I'm happy those 5 are here. I always wonder what happens because sometimes I'll see those numbers, and you can't help but watch the numbers of people watching this when you're doing these things. But sometimes I'll see it and they'll go up to like 12 and down to 8 and then back to 12 and down to 8. I'm like, what is happening with these 4 people that every 15 seconds they're flipping on and off their computers? Joe said he was seeing his New York strip. That's a valid reason to not be doing this. Is if you got steak to cook, all right, that's a free pass. I do this though, for you and for me. So if there was just, shout out Trevor because I know he's out there. I'm gonna give Trevor a big shout out because the first time I did a live stream, it was just me and Trevor, and I so needed him there and was thankful he was there. And I had all kinds of negative questioning feelings because I'm like, man, I can't get people to join in. But having Trevor there kept me going. So big shout out to Trevor. He's a huge supporter of the biggest supporter currently on the Patreon. I can't tell you enough about how much I appreciate him, standing out and pushing for me. That means a lot, dude. That means a lot. Yeah, we'll find a time, Joe. Joe's only if you can get me into Augusta, Joe. Yeah, I've never had a bad bottle of it either, Trevor, until that. So that really blew my mind. I'm going to hang on to that little sample bottle. So if we find a time to meet up at some point, um, I'll let you try it. You won't want more than a couple drops, so I can keep that sample bottle for a minute. But yeah, if you find anybody, it's called Mike's. That's all I know about it. I know Ryan, who sent it to me, is from the Midwest, and by the Midwest, I really mean the Plains. I think he's in Kansas. I think. Uh, but um, but yeah, there's some weird ones out there, I'm sure. People are getting their hands on the Granny's batch. So while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and give some secondary notes, some deeper notes on No's Secret. I gave pretty deep notes on the very first 2013-6, so we'll dig into No's Secret a little bit here. After going through all of these and then coming back to No's Secret, I really like the nose on this. It's just beautiful. It's beautifully sweet. Caramel, vanilla, butterscotch, just every sweet aromatic you can imagine. I actually get a little bit of rye spice on that. It's kind of fun. Oh, almond extract. That is a new one. I'm getting almond extract on No's Secret. That is, I've never gotten that note before. That's really cool.